usually we start Ascension. Let's see, because I'm wondering how many months we've been going so far. We started on September 20th. So,
Wow.
and we played until uh, the end of January. So, pretty much all of October, November, December, and January. So, like 4 months. So, we've had about 4 months of Ascension. Somehow it's felt longer than that, actually. Um,
I agree,
but
but in a good way.
yeah. I mean, I think that this campaign has been. We've spent the most time focused on the main story compared to any other campaign I think we've ever done. Um,
Mm.
I have purposefully tried to not put in a whole lot of like filler episodes and like just going off and doing like fighting stuff just for like the sake of it. I think we've only had like one combat that hasn't been like directly related to the story, and that was like fighting those bandits and like saving that merchant guy. Um, but everything else, trying to keep it very focused on the main story because it's a good one. I'm enjoying it a lot. And
Yeah.
so, of course, as we began Ascension, the whole reason that we're here is because each of you was trying to get to the astral plane, this beautiful image that we have here of the heavenly gates, in order to see a soul that has passed into the afterlife. And it's said that the souls linger on in the astral plane, and that if you can get there, you can meet those who have left the material plane. And you all had someone or something that you wanted to see, and you joined the Agents of Ascent, who claimed that they were able to get up to the astral plane. And so um, your dreams and ambitions were somewhat realized in the fact that it appeared like you got there to the astral plane and you saw these kind of shining, shimmery spirit things that you think were the souls of the people who you were trying to see. And like, so it kind of worked, but you were only up there for a short period of time. And then afterwards, you guys later learned that, yeah, those were the souls you were trying to see, but there was a little bit of a mix up, and you kind of took those souls back to the material plane with you. And they weren't the ones that like you were trying to see, they were one of like your friends. So you guys have, each other's um, soul people inside of you. And if they're not returned to the astral plane within, I think what the guy told you was a year's time, they would fade away and be gone, lost forever, not able to rest peacefully for eternity. So then you had this kind of secondary thing of like, holy crap, we have to get these souls back to the astral plane now. And to top it all off, things are also falling from the sky. Uh, right in the beginning, a giant sword appeared in the mountains, and you guys have determined that it is Galamark's sword, and you guys have touched the sword, interacted with it, and also you saw some angels coming down from the astral plane. So tons of wonky stuff. The astral plane usually doesn't interact with the material plane in direct ways like this, but there are angels now on Earth and items falling from the sky. Uh, you guys have done a lot of research into what the heck's happening up there and causing these items to fall from the sky, and what you have gathered, what you think has happened, is that these beings called the Old Gods have attempted to reclaim the astral plane. The Old Gods once ruled over the astral plane, but were banished by the angels in here. Actually, I think, yeah, here we go. Have a little thing here about kind of like what we've learned about these old gods. There are four of them that you've heard of. Asdan, who kind of appears to be like the leader of them all. Uh, Rajuk Amon-Gor, who's pictured here. Maul, and Orcus. These are the four old gods that you guys have come into, well, not really come into contact with. I think you've actually seen Orcus and Rajuk Amon-Gor. I think those are the two. Or maybe it's Maul. Maul. To be honest.
I believe Rajugan and Orcus.
Okay,
I believe.
yeah. So Rajugamongur and Orcus are the two that you guys have seen, kind of like projections of those old gods. But those are the ones you guys think are fighting up in the astral plane, trying to defeat the angels. And as I mentioned before, the old gods used to rule over the astral plane, but were defeated by the angels and banished to this other plane called Abaddon for eternity, sealed forever. But despite Abaddon being sealed, it appears like the old gods have escaped somehow. And now there are also mortals on Testria who are starting to worship the old gods again. And as you guys know, with like the angels too, the gods get their power from people who worship them. So the more people that worship these old gods, only the stronger they will become. And you guys have seen some pretty wicked and evil rituals being performed in the name of old gods, sacrifices and the like. So they they do definitely seem to be a lot more on the evil end of the spectrum than what you guys are used to with the angels, who are all kind of like in the middle of good and evil. They're not really necessarily one or the other. They're all just kind of like okay, but these guys are pretty much evil. Um, what you guys have learned about what's going on up in the astral plane is that, and again, this is all kind of like what you've inferred. None of this is set in stone and definitive. But stuff that you guys have like learned in your presumption about what's happening is that there's a war being waged in the heavens between the old gods and the angels. Although rumors have spread that four of the angels, Hasmed, Wahab, Decimar, and Aegon, started this war. But again, you guys, I think are, before you were kind of like going back and forth about like, maybe that's true, maybe it's not. But I think you guys have pretty firmly said that like that's not happening. You guys really think it's the old gods versus the angels. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk about that after. Maybe I have that wrong. Um, Magical items are falling from the sky, like our beloved cube, and you guys have collected a few of these items actually. Um, Both angelic items and demonic ones as well. Shigure and Brogrod each have a demon item that they have been able to harness the power of. And the other thing that you guys have kind of learned through your research and studies is that the angels are not favored in this war. The old gods are much more powerful historically, and especially it seems like Azdan has somehow been able to harness the powers of Abaddon, which again just gives him a ton of strength to use against the angels. So things do not look good for the angels if this is really what's happening. If those four old, even if it's just the four old gods, if it's those four who are waging war, if they broke out of Abaddon and are waging war in the astral plane, not looking good for the angels. Um, what you guys have learned about the agents, and we were kind of talking about this before, and that, and this all kind of came about in that last DI battle with Rostar when you guys invaded the stronghold of the old god worshippers. You guys learned that you actually had a role in opening Abaddon. When you guys tried to go to the astral plane, the ritual that you and the other agents did may have accidentally weakened the barrier between the astral plane and all other planes, including Abaddon, um, which was a rude awakening for you guys to learn that you might have actually been contributors to this event taking place, this war in the heavens. And as we were talking about before, he also said that the reason that they've always kind of been one step ahead of you and have had knowledge about what you guys are doing is because Ganzin has been working with the intention of bringing back the old gods this whole time. And he's, throughout your guys' time in the Agents of Ascent, he's said that he's been receiving messages from the angel Estivus, and he's held pretty firm that Estivus tells him that like Hazmet is the one behind the war, and he hasn't really been super open to discussions of like the old gods being the ones who are starting this ploy, which again makes him more of a suspect in terms of him like not being who he claims to be and it's hard to know exactly what his true intentions about going to the astral plane that first time were. But regardless of his intentions and his plots, the agents have become a renowned group in Rentham, and especially in Kingsbridge, the capital where their headquarters is. And Ganson is like the face of the agents, and uh, generally, the citizens of Rentham believe that through him and the other agents, the angels can stand a chance because his plan is to go back to the astral plane. That's still the goal. The never ending goal of the agents is to get to the astral plane. That's still what's on the menu. And Ganson has been saying that he wants to go back there to help the good angels, fight the quote bad angels. Um, and people of Kingsbridge are like, cool, yeah, that sounds great. Of course we want you to help Galamark. Like, who doesn't want who doesn't want to help Galamark? Like, go Ganson, go agents. But again, it's hard to know exactly why he wants to go back there. Is he really going back to help the angels, or is he going there to help the old gods? Or is he even trying to go back there at all? Uh, it's hard to know. Yeah, this was kind of just some images to jog your guys' memories of the last thing that we did. That's the hammer of Orcus that Brogrod has got. This is the new angelic item that Story brought along with him. When you guys met Story in the evil people's lair, you have this hourglass, and that's of course Rostar, the bad boy boss that you guys actually vanquished. You vanquished him and got out of there. So it's also kind of unclear what kind of state that's going to put the cultists in, losing seemingly their most predominant leader. Uh, who knows what that's going to do to their ranks and to their confidence as well. Um, Unclear at this time. And I think that's all. Yeah, that's all the slides that I had, and I just wanted to. Here, actually, I wonder if I can just stream my map tool. It's probably fine. Just so you guys can see the last spot. Um, um, and so I just wanted to be able to talk about like any questions you guys had, like clarifying questions about like the old gods or the agents or the angels, like whatever kind of info you feel like you need in order to make an informed decision about what to do next, which we already kind of started talking about. Like going back to Kingsbridge and confronting Ganson or doing some investigative research on the agents. I wasn't really sure. So this session today will just be planning what you guys want to do so that I can get everything set up. And another thing that we will have for next time, which is exciting, is we will be leveling up, and that means we will get our ultimate abilities for next time as well.
Ooh.
Um,
Nice.
So yeah, so definitely make sure you review your spell list and remember what your ultimates do. um, and let me know if there's any kind of tweaks or changes that you guys want to make. But yeah, I think that right now the plan is to head back to Kingsbridge, but I don't know. It all depends on what you guys want to do.
Yeah, I remember us having a detailed discussion of like sailing around on our way back to Kingsbridge and trying to, plot a course and thinking about, where Ganson would be while we traveled. I think that's what we had started discussing.
Mm-hmm. Sounds right.
I don't think we had a super hardcore plan as to what we were going to do once we found Ganson. We just were like, okay, we gotta go. We're gonna confront Ganson, and that was about as far as we got. So more plan would probably be good.
Yeah.
It seems like we've got a pretty fleshed out plan right there, actually.
Just kick down the door. It was you!
I mean,
I have a few questions.
Yeah, definitely.
What is the relationship between the angels and the material plane? Like, I see that the angels are titled. Do they have like power over different sections of the material plane, like the Greek gods or something, or are they just kind of holy beings?
So the angels are more of just like holy beings, less direct impact over the material plane than like the Greek gods had, at least as far as my understanding of the Greek gods is, which isn't very expansive. But essentially, what the angels are is like they can give some of their power to the mortals on the material plane. And so if you worship an angel, if you are devout enough, the idea is that that angel will grant you some strength to utilize, and like how you utilize that strength is going to be different depending on who you are as a person, and different depending on which angel you worship. So someone who worships Zulfur is going to get a different kind of power from worshiping Zulfur than someone who's like the angel of passion, than someone who worships Estevis, who is the angel of knowledge.
Okay, cool. Because the reason I asked was because if the angels are losing and they have power or control over the material plane, then I feel like we would see evidence of that, like in maybe the world becoming distorted or like losing substance.
Hmm.
So, if they're not like that, then that makes more sense. Okay, cool. Yeah, that answers my question.
Good
Because
question.
we don't really know what the status is, except for the fact that the angels are expected to lose. And my guess is that the old gods would get stronger as time goes on because they'll gain more followers, right? You said their power is based off of who believes in them.
Yeah,
Um,
basically all the old gods and the angels work in that manner.
okay. Because the thing is, like, we as mortal beings, I could imagine, would have difficulty making a substantial impact in this otherworldly war that's going on between, like, celestial beings, right? At least, like, in combat. So we'd have to figure out a way to provide advantage or hinder uh, one side or the other, respectively, so that we can help the angels succeed.
Yeah.
So in
I,
order, yeah.
I think we have kind of taken up the role of, or especially Shigure and Brogrod, have some direct contact with Ardius in the case of Shigure, and oh, one sec.
Turok.
Yeah, Turok. In the case of Brogrod, and there has been like we're not as strong as angels. We're not expected or expecting to beat the old gods in combat with our party, but we can act for the angels on the material plane, and like that's kind of our role.
Right. Because at least for Dunbar, his priority would be to get to the astral plane so that the soul of his uh person of interest does not wither away. Um, that would be his major priority over like stopping a war. I don't know if other characters would have different uh motives, but like getting to the astral plane would be the biggest. I guess they could both go hand in hand. If we stop the war, the angels could help us with the souls, but um
Yeah, I think they're fairly interconnected because we would probably have a somewhat difficult time stopping, like guaranteeing that we could stop the war if we never went back to the astral plane. We gotta
yeah,
go
I think
back
we may need
there
to. Yeah.
at some point.
So if we're going to confront Ganzin, we need to make sure we have our own way to get to the astral plane,
Right. Exactly.
because he's our conduit for travel, as far as I remember. Um,
Oh yeah, what did he do the first time around? Did he like cast a? Was
He
it him or us that like cast the spell using the cube to get us up there?
Well, it wasn't the cube. It was just
It
the
was
like
with a
runes
number
that we
of
made.
and a number of relics of some kind that we had connected.
Oh yeah,
Well,
They
we like
seem
stole something from a museum, didn't we?
with what we
Yeah.
know now, it seems
Borrowed.
like we collected angelic, items with some kind of angelic connection, and that's what we used to like as catalysts to get us to the astral plane.
so it sounds like Ganzin would appreciate getting to the astral plane again.
Hmm.
For whatever his motive is, good or bad, probably bad.
Y- Yeah, and I think he had said that. Like I think to our face, like when we last talked to him and did not think he was evil, uh we talked about like planning to go to the astral plane again.
So I mean, we have options. We can confront Ganzin, right? We can use Ganzin as a facilitator to get back to the astral plane, or we could just like dissociate with Ganzin and do it ourselves.
Well, I don't really like the disassociating from Ganzin option, even if we want to go to the astral plane ourselves. The fact that he appears to present a like clear danger to the world. He is like an enemy that is working against us. So like we're sort of responsible for taking the fight to him in some form or another. Now, if we have some plan to like not immediately attack him because we want to like spy on him, then that's reasonable. But I don't think it's reasonable to just like leave.
Oh yeah,
Also,
no matter what, we need to confront him. We need to deal with the Gans situation.
I was gonna say also worth like noting is that he does think that you guys have fallen in battle. Um, you know, because there was that whole thing where like Rostar sent some people out to like kill you at the camp, and then
Oh
like
yeah.
you guys pretended that you lost and assumed the identities of the cultists. So like, you know, it's not actually gonna work. And I'm not sure if you guys were even like, you know, this was your intentions or whatever. But like,
Oh
if you just like could go back and like, hey Ganzin, like we're back. How about getting to the astral plane and just like pretend that you don't know that he's the bad guy? Like he's gonna be like, holy crap, they're still alive. What's going on?
Yeah.
yeah.
Right.
Oh my God. Have we split up from Cyrus yet?
We
Yes.
did, yeah. I mean, he was like
Oh,
just at the market, but
okay.
so like,
I'm wondering if there's some way to like. Okay, so this whole thing where like there was a big underground fight where Rostar died, like we had sort of been operating under the assumption that like as news of that spread, it was going to become clear that we were still alive. But that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Cyrus was there and like perhaps somewhat visibly there. So what if like maybe we can still like lay low and pretend that we were dead and it was actually Cyrus that did that whole thing in
Yeah, he's
order to
pretty
keep
famous, right?
Yeah.
yeah.
It's
He is a
known that he's in this
legendary.
area.
Yeah, so like it seems reasonable that Cyrus could just bust down a door and kill an entire group of cultists by himself.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. So then, if we confront Ganzin, it is in a hostile, with hostile intent.
Most likely, if we show up, and try to talk to him in any way, he probably will be very wary of us, because before he was just kind of like, slipping misinformation to us, slipping good information to the bad guys. This is a time where he actively like attempted to get us killed. Like, he gave them information knowing that it would potentially lead to us getting assassinated. As far as he knows, it did lead to us getting assassinated. So if he sees us again, he's probably going to assume that we know that and act accordingly. Because, if he lets his guard down and we just get close and kill him, then that's trouble for him. You know what I mean? Like, if he thinks that we might know about what he did, then he's probably just going to act as if we're his enemies.
So, what do we think the best way for us to influence the war would be? Because if the angels and old gods are powered by faith, then we either need to gather more believers who previously didn't believe, or reduce the number of believers of old gods. Right?
Reduce the numbers.
However that may be. To a
There
point
needs to
where
be
they're
a
weak
little bit
enough.
of a culling.
Well, I mean, through convincing them in many different manners.
An impassioned debate, yeah.
Yeah, sword, axe, a lot of different ways.
Because I mean that's how I would imagine we would impact that war, unless there's something we don't know yet. I mean, we do have angelic relics that could prove useful for the angels if they got them back, but
I think, it would be keeping the followers of the old gods from picking up too much steam, holding on to our angelic relics and passing them off to the gods later, so that they can get their strength back from them, and holding on to the demonic relics and making sure that holding on to the old god relics and making sure that the old gods don't get their hands on them.
Yeah, because I think
yeah, go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
along with like the faith angle, the relics is the other thing that I think the other way we can influence things. We don't have like an exact understanding of how it all works, but obviously like we can hold and touch and use these relics, but they're also something that is significant to the celestial beings themselves. So yeah,
Sorry,
go ahead.
continue. Okay,
No.
I was just gonna say, like, I think that's probably the most important thing is that we move swiftly, because basically what we and others have been doing up until this point is gathering relics for Ganzen. So, yeah, as you said, like relics are one of the major weapons that the mortals can use in this war. Uh, he should have quite a collection of relics by now, so he's probably planning on doing something with those relics. Um, so I think like we need to get those relics from him, and then we can probably instead use them ourselves. But we have to figure out, like what's his plan? Because like what has he been trying to get us to do this whole time? He's been trying to get us to gather relics for him. So clearly he has some big plan on how to use these relics again. So I think if we could figure out what his plan is, maybe we can take that gun and turn it towards a different target.
Right, but we'll have to learn that indirectly, not by confronting. Well, I mean, we could learn it from confronting Ganzen and like interrogating him or something, but we could also do it indirectly by
Yeah, there
spying
are.
or surveillance.
I'll be right back.
I guess the immediate question is like, what do we want to do about Ganzen?
Yeah, that feels like the question of the day.
Because the longer he is around, influencing people, I don't really know what. I mean, we don't really know what he's doing, other than potentially being an old god's follower. In which case, he's probably doing some bad stuff. If we ever confront Ganzen directly, it's going to probably be very hostile. So we have to, is it worth not engaging him yet and gathering more information, or do we have everything we need?
I think that what Dana was saying is probably the biggest thing of like, even if we don't confront him now, we probably need to figure out where he's holding all of these artifacts that he's been piling up and hit that, because we need to make sure that like he doesn't have all of this stuff that he's been hoarding, you know? Because like we could go and try and get more information on him and what he's doing, but they've been gathering stuff and we've been gathering stuff for him for so long that if we aren't careful, he's going to just like do the thing that he's been trying to do while we're trying to
Do
figure
you
it out.
guys remember the other Agents of Ascent party and where we last talked to them and what their status is?
There was a party in the dungeon, right? That we were just at. Weren't those agents?
Oh,
Oh yeah, they're on
right.
the boat.
So
Some of them are.
There's some agents on the boat, and then I also have.
Yeah, and then it's his group back there.
Who have we not seen in a while? Who's an agent? Ah, yes, Valerie.
So yeah, so there's Valerie and Shira, who you guys were kind of chummy with. Same with Kalos and Hammond. But I think that these are the other agents who are back home.
Yeah, okay. Because the party that we met in the cultist dungeon is the same group that
Oops.
they are the same group that we whatchamacallit. Oh, that we like found in that town, I want to say to the north or whatever, where like something fell and they got in trouble with the town guards and
Yep. Yeah. So they also have a relic. They have the ring of Zulfar.
and they're on board with us, right? That like of now suspecting that Ganson is a are they? Yeah. Did we talk with them about our suspicions about Ganson?
If well, wait, we're talking about the second party, the ones that couldn't go back home.
Yeah.
Yeah, if they hadn't been informed yet, we could always tell them on the boat because they're physically here.
Was
Yeah.
that party also assumed dead?
No.
Okay.
Well, you're not sure because that party was just at the lair when you got there.
Okay.
But
Very, very, very deep cover.
But the thing is, like, Ganson knows that they were there. Like, they told Ganson, like, hey, this is what we're doing. We're going to infiltrate the lair. So presumably Ganson knows that they were there. You know, like they had some contact with the agents before. So they knew that they were there undercover in the lair, but it didn't look like, a hit was planned against them at any point. They just kind of were like, oh, you guys showed up and then you hatched this plan to kill Rostar, and they were like, sure, let's do it. And now, yes, they are on board with you guys, where they are, they were already kind of suspicious of Ganson. That's why they didn't return before, is because everyone was like all anti-Hazmet and stuff, and they have a lot of like Hazmet and Wahab followers in their crew, which is why they didn't return to Kingsbridge initially. And so they are on board with you guys in the sense of like, we need to reel in Ganson, and we need to do something about like getting back to the astral plane, or like doing something to help the angels to defeat the old gods. They fully believe everything that you guys have told them about like the old gods and all that stuff.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if maybe like through them we can work on without confronting Ganson directly, trying to figure out where the agents of Ascent have been like keeping relics and things. That
Sorry, guys, I'm back. Did we start with a plan? Sorry.
Not really. We're still chatting.
Okay, cool.
The all of the relics that we have interacted with, other than the cube, are all affiliated with either an angel or an old god, right?
And
And the cube is Estivus.
yep. Yeah,
we know the cube is Estivus. Okay.
yeah. The cube. You've gotten confirmation from Story. So it depends on how much you believe Story. That this is yes a cube of Estivus, and that he also said that the hourglass is that of Sharla.
Okay.
And of course, yeah, the goblet of Rajuk and then the sledge of Orcus.
Okay. So yeah, we have to decide what we want to do about Ganzen. Do we want to approach him, or do we want to hold off? And if we're holding off, what are we waiting for?
I think my vote, yeah, would be to try and like pull the rug out from under the agents of Ascent without directly confronting Ganzen. And then maybe, you know, if we succeed or if we don't succeed, then the next step is trying to confront him more directly. But yeah, regathering the relics.
Do you think we can steal the relics from him?
Depends, like, cause you know, like this other Agents of Ascent party that is now with us, they had a relic which presumably they would have given to Ganzen, but they ended up hanging on to for themselves, like for the time being. And so if there's anyone else working with the Agents of Ascent that's in a similar situation, we could try and find them and get relics from them.
I wonder if we can steal the ones that he already has, though.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, like, you know, if they're not on his person, essentially, it's like fair game.
Heist, is it?
So our goal would be to gather the relics that Ganzen actually has or other agents have without actually engaging Ganzen.
Yeah, because like I think as long as we're suspected dead, that's to our advantage.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'd
they won't
have
be
to figure out.
expecting us to sneak around.
Right. So we'll have to try and. So I guess like major mission objectives are to figure out where these relics are being kept, and then how to retrieve them, and then I guess what to do with them.
Yeah, I would say like, you know, like the Agents of Ascent were definitely doing things that we weren't aware of before. And then and so we can like talk to the other members of the agents who we have with us and try and figure out if we can see like, you know, how much of a structure is there behind Ganzen. You know, how many other people are involved, you know, and can we exploit that structure to extract some relics.
And I think it's safe to assume that if Ganzen has turned sides or has always been on the other side, there might be other agents who are like that as well.
Yes.
So,
like
maybe even in this party, we don't know.
It's possible. But yeah, certainly the home crew, the agents who mostly hang around the base, those are the ones who I would be the most suspicious of being, you know, secret cultists or something.
Even if they're not secret cultists, it might be difficult for us to convince them that Gansen
Yeah.
is.
So evil.
We had a vision.
Like, hey, we talked to the bad guys, and the bad guys said Gansen's bad.
So it's got to be bad.
We talked to the bad guys that no one believes even exist, and they told us that Gansen's the bad guy.
Oh,
okay. So we want to use this party that we're currently with as a intermediary between us and Gansen to gather more information.
Yeah, I think that's like a good place to start.
Cool.
And then if that doesn't work out, then we can go back to you know, say surprise Gansen, we were alive the whole time.
Yeah, I think we have to be prepared for Gansen finding out. Well, I guess he's gonna find out that we're not dead, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
in due time. He might find out a little later, or he might find out immediately once this party gets back and someone betrays us.
Yeah. So we have to be ready in either case.
Did we have a place we wanted to? If we're gonna let this party go and interact with Ganson, did we have a place we wanted to go or a lead we wanted to follow? In the meantime, or did we want to just like
Lay low somewhere.
lay low in Kingsbridge?
Can't think of anything else we want to do there.
We could start investigating our own method of getting to the astral plane, in case we can't get there through Ganson. I don't know. Like, we're gonna have to figure it out somehow, right?
Yeah. We just gotta.
So,
But if we're doing that, we gotta make sure we don't reveal ourselves in the process.
so when we went to the astral plane, like we all went up onto a mountain and like did a ceremony, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So we all did the ceremony. Like we weren't just there while like Ganson did it at long range. Like we did the ceremony, right?
Well, we did the ceremony at the same time that the other two groups also did their ceremonies. The other thing is that we may not want to do the same ceremony again because that ceremony, made the border between the realms thin enough for some of the old gods to escape. So I think the last thing we want to do is to let 4 more old gods out.
Matt, would we think that Story might have something to say about getting to the astral plane?
Story believes that if given some time, he could figure out how to get to the astral plane. He's confident that he would be able to do that.
Okay.
Well,
Just him or the whole group?
He thinks that given enough of these relics, he could create a pathway to the astral plane. What he will say is that when he does interplanar travel, he really only messes with the dreamscape.
Okay.
So he'll have to think about it, but he might do something a little bit different that involves like going into the dreamscape and then using the dreamscape to get to the astral plane instead of directly from material to astral. But
Okay.
he thinks he could probably get you guys there.
Putting 100% of our faith in Story is also not necessarily
Wait.
the most.
This man's gone out of his way to help us.
Oh, it's not lack of trust.
What lack of ability?
You trust that he'll get us somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. He did give the relic to a cat for safekeeping.
Hey, it
The
worked.
cat didn't lose it, did he?
He didn't. So the Story is confident. Whether or not you guys are confident in Story is up to your own determination.
Yo, you just gotta have faith, right? I have faith in Story.
I do not have faith in Story.
That
Okay.
averages out to like some faith, though.
Yeah, it's some faith. Our party on average has some faith.
Boom. Ship it.
Okay, yeah. So we have to figure out what we're gonna do if this party's gonna be our intermediary. So what do we want to do?
Do we want to? Do we think we can get anything out of talking to those 3 angels in Kingsbridge?
Oh,
That's a good point. 'Cause
Probably.
They don't really talk to anyone.
I'm
It's not
pretty
like
sure
they're gonna go into town and
Ganson
reveal us.
won't come in 300 paces of those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Like, they're not going to go talk to anyone else. It's not like if we went to the library and we were like, hey, I'm looking for a book on the astral plane and how to get there. They'd be like, oh, you're Ganson's people. Hey, Ganson, who's here right now, come over and say hi to these guys.
And
Like the angels.
Yeah.
I think
it's safe.
Anthem was the one who was pretty chummy towards us.
Oh, yeah.
They know
The
about
announcer
our
angel.
order.
He likes us a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, there's the nice one, the mean one, and the scary one.
Yeah.
There's some overlap between the scary one and the mean one.
Well, the mean one is just mean, but the scary one is actually like something to be afraid of.
Yeah,
I
that
think
might be
they're
a
all
good
something
idea.
to be afraid of.
I think it's a really good idea, Dan.
And they're in Kingsbridge, right, Matt?
They're in the mountains.
Wait, is
Where
that
the
the mountain
sword
where
is.
we did our ceremony?
Mm-hmm.
Uh-oh.
Ah, okay.
That also might be a better idea for us to hang out there rather than inside the city, unless we have a specific action we need to take.
Yeah.
Just being in the city might not be a wise choice.
True.
Like
So
being
we'll walk-
near the
yeah.
city is important so that we can take action if something happens. But the more time we spend inside the boundaries of the city itself, the more likely we'll get discovered.
We should rent an apartment in the slums to hide out at.
And I'm pretty sure that guard knows all our faces by now.
Oh,
yeah,
the
the
camera guy.
The
Yeah.
doorman.
Tomas?
Yeah, Tomas.
What's
He looks like a guy that doesn't forget a face.
Doesn't
So-
forget a face. Okay,
I think you
so
did
that-
forget
yeah.
a couple of people's faces, but I take your
no,
point.
no. Perfect
So our
memory.
immediate plan will be to arrive in Kingsbridge via boat undetected. Like, are we just gonna show up at the dock, or do we want to like stop somewhere else and walk the rest of the way?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think we use like a little dinghy to get to shore.
So if you guys look at the map, where you guys are headed to is you're headed to the port town of Black Bay.
Okay.
Since Kingsbridge isn't like on the coast, so once you guys get to Black Bay, you can then travel over to Seven Oaks, which is the little town right below the cliffs, and not even have to go through Kingsbridge at all if you want to avoid that area.
Right,
Great.
and where are we now?
You guys are in Necrotia in Dark and
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, little anchor.
Yeah. And we were gonna sail around.
Because those angels are probably our best direct connection to the astral plane and understanding what's going on up there and how we can help as auric beings ourselves.
Yeah, and if we tell them that we're gonna help and then we do help, they'll be more likely to help us afterwards. As opposed to like, if we do something and then save the day, but they don't know that it was us that did it, and then we're like, hey, can you take us to the astral plane? They might be like, nah. So like that might be another way to get to the astral plane is say like, hey, we're helping, and then we help, and they're like, hey, in return for us helping, any chance you can, give us a ride? Not definitely gonna work, but a possibility.
What's the, I mean, you might not have an answer, Matt, but what's like the relationship between souls and the angels? Like, are the angels like guardians of the souls, or what? Like, what are they doing with souls?
The angels don't really do a whole lot with the souls because like nothing really has ever threatened them before. So like the angels kind of exist in the astral plane, and then as do the souls of mortals. They go up to the astral plane, they hang out in the astral plane for a little while, kind of soak up all that yummy astral plane juice, and then they move on and just can peacefully rest for the rest of eternity after they kind of like fade away in the astral planes. They're not in the astral plane forever, but the idea is just kind of hang out there so that they can then be at peace and be at rest. For
Okay,
the rest
so
of time.
so the souls that we have on us, do we? I guess I could assume that the angels wouldn't value them that much.
Right. Yes.
Okay. It's not like we stole some prime merchandise from them.
Yeah, like it's not like they wouldn't like not care, but it's not like a huge bargaining chip. If
Okay.
that's what you're thinking. It's not nothing, but it's not huge. Like
It's probably not going to help us if we told them like, oh hey, we took these souls. They're not going to be like, oh, happens every once in a while. They're going to be like, excuse me, you did what?
huh?
Well, yeah, but it's like if we're urgent on getting them back up to the astral plane, maybe they would assist because they know that souls matter or something.
Yeah. You think that would probably be like something, it'd be like, oh, we have to get these back, and you just might be like, okay, yeah, you kind of do, but you also think that like getting the godly relics back would probably be even more of like an enticement to like if you're trying to get the angels to get you back to the astral plane, being like, hey, we need to return this to Estivus, you think would probably be more of like a bargaining tool than like the souls inside of you.
Okay.
I also probably don't want them to be like, oh yeah, we should probably get those souls back up there. Let's take the express route, the 2-for-1 route. If you catch
Yeah.
my drift.
You mean all the souls, right? Not just the extra ones?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay. It sounds like if we can manage to heist the stuff from Ganzen, then that might be a way for us to like either get them to take us to the astral plane or get them to show us a way to get to the astral plane. Because right now we just have a few artifacts, but if we could get more, then it would be even more of a reason for them to move us there, or like help us get there.
Right, and then we don't know what's gonna happen when we get up there, but that's not something we'll find out until it happens.
Let's not plan too far in advance.
Bring some extra rope.
Always.
Okay, cool. So we have a plan. I think, does that give you enough content to work with, Matt, for next week?
Yep, so let me just recap to make sure I understand the plan
Okay.
correctly, and also to maybe provide some context on what this man Zuzarti is thinking with his end of the bargain.
Okay.
You guys are going to go to the mountainside with the sword and talk to the angels, and you're asking the angels if they'll help you get to the astral plane. Is that what you're asking them, or are you just?
I think that's part of it. I think we also want to just like be more blunt with them about what's going on.
Yeah, like confirm with them that the old gods are, because I don't think they have ever mentioned the old gods, and so if we mention them to them, hopefully they would give a reaction like, yeah, that is what's going on.
Okay, right.
We also may, depending on how things go, we may be able to be like, hey, there's this mortal named Ganzen, and
Because
he's
these are
doing bad stuff. Like, can you go smite him?
one of these guys is Judgment, right? And then what are the other two? It's
so Anthem's the friendly one, Judgment is the mean one, and then Serenity is the scary one.
Serenity.
Oh
okay.
yeah, that's part of why it's so scary.
I thought one of them was Serenity, and I was like, I think Serenity is the scary one.
Say, like, if we ever need to beat up Ganzen and we don't think we can do it ourselves because he's got some weird power or something like that, we can just be like, hey, Serenity, can you take a big hammer and smack this puny mortal?
I mean, that's not a bad idea at all.
Considering their unwillingness to move, I think the more likely outcome is that they'll say, "Sure, here's the hammer."
Anthem would say, sure, here's the hammer, and then Judgment would say, you can't give them the holy hammer of smiting?
Yeah, then we have to go smite him with our bare hands.
I mean, it's only like a couple miles away. They could probably like throw a hammer and hit him from there.
So yeah, that was our plan with the
Alright.
angels. at
Yep.
least.
So you guys are going to the angels. You're going to ask for just like information, tell them everything that's going on with you, see if they can help you in any ways. Just see how they can help, essentially. And then meanwhile, the Zuzarti's party of agents is going to go back to Kingsbridge. They are going to tell Ganzen, hey, we were in really deep and things were getting really close to like this ritual thing and we thought that we might be discovered, so like we left. And they're going to say they left one day before you guys actually left, just so if word travels to him about.
Yeah, and that means they also dodged getting murdered by Cyrus, which is what we're assuming is the going to be the official story on
Right.
this.
Right. Yes. So they're going to say they left the day before Rostar's death because they felt like their position might be compromised and they like stopped learning new things. And they, I guess, are going to just tell Ganzen about like everything with the old gods and how that group is worshiping them instead of like Hasmet and stuff. And they're going to ask Ganzen like what the status is on getting back to the astral plane, and probably ask him where the relics are so that they can deposit their relic wherever they're hidden. Like as like, you know, the guys like, oh yeah, tell us where the relics are so we can put ours there. And then the idea being that they will come back with you guys, and your guys' plan is to steal the relics once you know where they are.
Yes.
Yes.
I have that correct. Okay.
Because it doesn't matter. Well, we're doing that instead of trying to figure out Gans's plan, because as far as we're concerned, it doesn't matter what his plan is as long as we can get all of his gas away from him. You know, like it doesn't matter where he's driving if we unfuel his car of all its artifacts. So
Okay.
and then like maybe we could try to find out like what he wanted to do with the artifacts in the process, but the main thing is just getting the artifacts so that he can't use them, so that we can return them.
Or use them ourselves.
True.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. And do you want them to be prying around with any of the other agents, or too suspicious of people, don't know who to trust, and just gonna leave it? Are we telling any of this top group about what's been happening?
I feel like we don't tell them. I feel like we don't tell anybody anything. We don't know who we can trust, but while they're there, they should try to get some vibe checks, basically.
5 checks. All right.
Well, yeah, I mean that's pretty doable. I think when they show up and they say, "Hey, it turns out they're not worshiping like Desmar. They're worshiping these old gods," and just like kind of read the room and see who's like, "Oh shit, they're onto us," and who's like, "What?"
Wait. We also probably want them to not be super definitive. Like when they're giving their debrief and talking to people, they shouldn't be like, "Oh, turns out everything we've thought so far is wrong, and they're actually worshiping the old gods." Because then Ganson might be like, "Oh,
They know too
the gig
much.
is up. Execute them." You know, they should probably be very middle of the roadie about it. Like, oh, it seems like they might be worshiping the old gods. There were a lot of references to old gods, but
Yeah.
like nothing was definitive.
These things called old gods.
Yeah, like make it seem like they don't know as much as they actually do, because if Ganson finds out how much they actually know, we may never get a report out from this spy team. They might just end their lives there.
Yep, makes sense. Makes sense. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna find out how the angels can help you. Once we find the relics, you guys are like going to steal them. That is the plan. Like,
Oh yeah.
if the angels tell you, yeah, we can beam you up to the astral plane right now. Like, are you guys beaming up to the astral plane, or are you going to steal the relics?
I think we still go to steal the relics because we wanted to bring as much stuff as possible to the astral plane, so we wouldn't want to like try to make a second trip. And we also said that Ganson is too dangerous to just be left to his own devices, right?
Also, we have this power from our friends or whatever they are to you. And if we go up to the astral plane, we might lose it. You know, great, their souls are saved, but like we can maybe get a little bit more accomplished down here on material plane with their help.
Yeah.
Because I think my assumption is when we go up to the astral plane, we will lose. It's likely we're going to lose our auric.
Well,
Because the souls are back at their place.
I'm not certain I agree with that course of action. I think that if we go to the angels and they say we can get up there, like I feel like I'm uncertain. Like I think it would be a pretty top priority to like get these souls back there. Uh, I, like you were saying towards the beginning, um, about like various characters' interests. I feel like at least for me, my real top priority is the same top priority I've had the whole time, which is get this soul back where it belongs, so it doesn't get
Yeah,
consumed by
Dunbar be
me.
that
So I
way
don't
too.
like I would feel I would not be very happy knowing that somebody in the party is continuing to consume this person's soul for power, as if we had the option instead to return it. I definitely want to end the apocalypse, um, but I I feel very small in the grand scheme of things in this apocalypse, and if there is just a binary option of like, do you immediately choose to return this soul to the astral plane or not? Um, it would take some convincing for me to say no to that.
Yeah, it's the challenge we face. Like, do we keep using these souls to help win this war, or do we just give them back because they're our friends,
And
loved
Matt,
ones,
maybe I
whatever?
missed some recap on that, but like my theory, how I always thought what I thought was going on, was that we have these souls and they are at risk as long as they're down here. If we die, this soul is lost forever, and we're sort of like consuming that soul to power ourselves. Is that accurate, or is it just sort of like hanging out with us and we're not really using it at all? And if we die, it just sort of floats back up.
The way again, we have our friend Story, who's the one who found out this was happening to you guys. Story's report is that if you guys die, the soul is gone forever. It will not go to the astral plane. It will not get its eternal rest. It will just be basically tortured as an ethereal object in the material plane forever. Not good. And you guys aren't the the soul is kind of like a battery that's like giving you guys this strength, but using its power isn't the thing that's actually like making the battery go down. The battery just like goes down over time. So like you guys using the powers that the soul gives you isn't like reducing the length of time the soul has before it's like gone forever.
I'm an ethereal object in a material world.
And I'm a material bear.
So you don't have to feel bad about using the auric. It's not actually hurting the soul. But
But the longer it's with us, the
yeah,
more it's withering
yeah,
away. Yeah.
yeah, and the more at risk it is of just withering away at some point. I mean, you guys can take Story's word that like, oh yeah, it'll take a year before it's like fully gone, but like
We don't know.
you don't know that, and like he really has no way of knowing that either. This isn't something that he's ever seen before. Like the souls could just fade out tomorrow for all you know.
Yeah. It's a good point, Dana. I feel conflicted now. I feel like I would want to go to the astral plane as soon as possible if the angels did offer an opportunity to do so.
I think, wow, this would be something that would probably need to be discussed, like, among the characters more, because I know that
Yeah.
for Frith's part, she would be conflicted, but would also know that if she dropped off the spirit before trying to save the rest of people, the spirit would chew her out for it. Like her friend. So
Mhm. It's tough. I mean, the angels might not even provide us a way, but I guess we can cross that bridge when we get there.
Okay.
yeah.
All right. Sounds good. So you guys to the angels, them to Kingsbridge, and then once you're ready, we will perform a heist to steal the relics out from underneath the Agents of Ascent, so that you guys will have all of the relics. And then once
Sweet.
that happens, we'll kind of reformulate.
Yeah, I think then we start talking about how we can go to the astral plane.
Yeah.
Once because like if we think that Ganzen's ritual with the relics is what weakened the barriers between these places, we don't want to just repeat it. So we'll have to figure out like what part of that ritual weakened that, and is there a way for us to go to the astral plane without causing that part to happen again.
Cool.
Cool. Think about what stats you want when you level up for next time.
I have no idea. I think I've just been
Actually-
winging it. Did a little HP here, a little AP there.
I actually forget if we like.
I think I
we
started
get-
with tanky stats and then I've just gone straight power.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm just trying to be.
Honestly, I
better.
think that's actually the play. HP is really good in the beginning of the game. It's worse later in the game.
Yeah. Well, also I think I realized that my whatchamacallit, my like my abilities actually had pretty good power scaling, and because like a lot of them involve shielding, I was going to be tankier by investing in power.
Oh,
Effectively
Riven.
tankier.
The Riven effect.
Yeah. Build all damage, actually unkillable. Fun champ.
Sick champ. Cool. Also, just another quick thing to touch on is just like timing of the campaign in general.
Mhm.
Usually we get our ultimates around the halfway point of the campaign, which would put this at an 8-month type of thing, a little bit longer because of the break that we had in between of Villain City. But it would be like 8 months of like of gameplay for Ascension, which is a little bit shorter than I think we initially planned. We were talking about like 9 months to a year, probably even more on the like year side. Um,
Hmm.
and honestly, like I think just because we've been like pretty story focused and we're going to continue doing that, like I do not plan on having side quest stuff. Like we're not gonna take this ship to Black Bay and like fight pirates on the way. Like that's just something that I'm not doing this campaign.
It's funny, Matt, because like I feel, at least from a player perspective, like we're coming to the end.
Yeah, which is what I was gonna say is that like I think that I'd probably be looking for even more like of 3 months left. This is what I'm probably looking at for this, and obviously things tend to take longer than we think, but we're definitely getting near the end. And so like I just want to make sure that you guys feel okay about it being halfway over, since it's a little bit sooner than we initially talked, and maybe even only being like more than halfway over.
Yeah.
Only having like maybe 3 months left of the campaign. Just get your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, just based on feel, I feel like we're even at like a 3/4. Like we figured out the big plot twist of Ganzin. Like we're gonna try and like gather all these relics. We're pretty close to doing it, and then what? Like something will happen at the angelic plane, and then like the war will conclude in one way or the other.
Yeah, I think the story-wise, the pacing, it feels right, to be that far along in the overall course of it. And I'm definitely okay with this ending, a little bit sooner, because I know we'll, there will be this is 5, right? So there will be 6. We'll keep doing stuff. And I don't mind, just moving on to the next thing a little bit quicker than planned.
Yeah, I don't want you to feel like you have to draw it out for the sake of just drawing it out. If we feel like the story is closing, like I think that's
Yeah.
okay.
I think that's
It's
a
more
side
hype.
effect of
Yeah.
having a campaign that's like much more tightly focused on the story. Like
Yeah,
I
it'll
think
end
that
sooner.
if we want like our next campaign to go longer than like this length of time, that's just something that we should be aware of in the planning phase, and like maybe do a campaign where we are more open to doing like side quests and stuff like that. But like I agree, like unless we suddenly had a lot of side quests thrown in.
Yeah.
Which, like, I love these characters and I would love to play with these characters for a long time, but I agree that considering how like laser focused we've been so far, it would feel weird if suddenly we got a bunch of side stuff that we weren't able to do that like extended the campaign more, you know?
And I feel like the characters have all developed a lot, and I feel like the only thing left for them to develop is to find out who their soul mates are. Like I feel like the characters are like, if I look at each character, I feel like each one of them has a very developed character profile, of like who they are, what they've done, what they believe in. Everyone seems well fleshed out, so at least from my perspective, I don't know if people feel that way about their own characters, but
Yeah, I mean, I agree that even though this campaign is shaping up to be shorter in terms of time than originally planned, it still feels pretty good in
oh
terms
yeah,
of like content and characterization.
it's excellent. Yeah,
And yeah, I also agree like that. Given how like this is a real like high stakes like end of the world type of campaign, where it would feel kind of weird to go off on some side quests for a little while in the middle of it.
Totally.
But like we could, if people felt that like the lack of side quests was a shortcoming, like I don't know, maybe in the next campaign we
yeah,
could do like a lighter hearted thing.
yeah. I think that's just feedback. Yeah,
But
but yeah, totally.
I really like the feel of this campaign so far. It's felt very uh very very epic and focused and coherent.
Yeah, it's good to have variation between our campaigns, you know? Some of our campaigns have been like honestly like mostly a collection of side quests with some story thrown in just
Mhm.
to let us develop, develop our characters. And then this has been like a very big departure from that where it's like just story all the time. That's it. And by story, I mean the character story.
Yeah, this has been
Like
a
I,
front
I,
to back the
Oh, man.
story.
I think like since we play this literally every week for years and years on end, it would get pretty boring if we chose one specific narrative style and stuck with that.
Yeah,
So yeah, I think keeping it mixed up is good. So like let's not try to uh, pad this. I like it.
Cool. Sounds good. Awesome.
so
Yeah.
that'd be
So
what, another 12 sessions, Matt?
yeah, about that. Probably like a little bit more. Maybe like
Yeah,
13, 14, something like that.
as always, things will never go as fast as planned.
Yeah, and I mean, even with I don't know. Like we could probably finish this in like, let's see,
Uh-oh. The
4
speed
weeks.
run.
Like no, I mean like I'm thinking like we could probably finish this in about 9 weeks, which is why I think like the 12 to 14 is like a good estimate. It's like
Fair.
always padding that a little bit, and we're gonna miss some sessions and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but I'm pretty confident about like 3 months wrapping it up and feeling good, about it. Definitely, we've been like leveling a little bit like slower compared to that, so the leveling is probably going to ramp up a little bit. Because I definitely don't want us to like just hit level 10 for like the last fight. Like, it's always fun to have a bunch of stats and a bunch of spells and stuff in the end. But that's an easy adjustment we can make. Super easy. And I'm glad that it's felt good to have this style, which I tried to make it very different from Monsteria, which was like every quest was just like go out into some random part of the world and fight this monster, and then like come back, and it's kind of like all side quest fighting stuff.
Yeah.
And this one is very different. I mean, I think we spent like 2 full sessions, like probably 6 hours, just like at libraries, like in this campaign. Which
To the
yeah,
library.
it's
is different.
it's really impressive, Matt, that we've been able to do main storyline the whole time. Like, think about all the games you've played on PC or Xbox, and like when the story is been that good the whole time, like that's saying something. So kudos to you about that, because you could have just like thrown a bunch of filler in to make your players happy and combat and all that stuff, but you've stayed true to the main story and it's paid off.
Thank you. Yeah, part of it is I think that we just have the best story for this campaign that we've ever had. It's very strong.
I mean, come on, man.
He does have some big biceps.
He's huge, dude. Look at this man, swole.
Yeah, I didn't even notice that until now.
That was the very first
Holy
thing that I
crap.
noticed before I even noticed that it was story.
No, I don't think I've ever hovered over him. I've just seen his face.
I'm like,
He's
yo,
like Master
Yeah.
Roshi, dude.
this Hermit.
Holy crap. Cool.
All right, I think that's what we've got for today then.